So in this lab exercise, we're going to learn a method for quantifying plant community. And the background covers what are some ways that you can do, or methods you can do for determining the quantitative description of the plant community, which includes how many there are and how they're distributed in that habitat. And so the procedure, which is 20.2, tells you that your instructor is going to help you locate a suitable area to do this activity. And in one few years back, I had an environmental biology class. We went out to the sand dunes there at Barrier Island, South Barrier Island, and they went on the sand dunes, and they used one of the methods called a line-transect, or a transect, sometimes called line-intercept method. And there's other methods. There's quadrat sampling and distance to a point and so on. But the only one that's described in your lab manual is the transect method. So you can see they're using a measuring tape, and they ran the measuring tape along the sand dunes. And the idea there is to see what plants are touching that transect. And so, and then you're out in the field and you're recording data as you make your measurements. So we're not going to get out into the field. This is more of an online simulation. And we're going to simulate getting a 10 to 30 meter long measuring tape. And we're going to go out into a simulated habitat. And we've got to figure out where we're going to be placing these transects. Okay. And the key here is that we need to get a representative samples of what's out there, or data. You can't just go put your transects wherever you want to, because if you do, you could create bias. Maybe you only like that area because all the plants look nice over there. But if you're trying to assess a general area and you want to know what is this habitat like, what is the plant community like, you need a method for doing that. One of them is to do a random situation. So you want to have your transects, these lines that you're going to lay out, in a random arrangement. You can't. So there's a random way to do this. There's a systematic way where you do like every 10 meters. You would put one down regardless of what's there. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to get that random placement. And so that's what this question asks. What concepts would you do to make sure that you place your transects correctly? And the idea here is you want a representative. You want a representative. You want data that's representative of the area there. So you want to reduce bias. Okay. And so the rest of the procedure there talks about what you do once you get out in the field. But let's get an idea of what we're doing here. The simulated habitat is going to be a desert scrub habitat that looks like it's, based on the name, is dominated by a plant commonly called the creosote bush. And these are some images of what it looks like. And you can imagine if you fly overhead with an airplane and you took an image of it, you would get an image of this plant life that's like here. You see it's somewhat sparse in some areas, a little more dense in other areas. And this is an area geologically called a bajada, and then a wash zone. A bajada is a gently sloping area, sometimes at the base of mountains. And you typically find these kinds of geological formations in desert areas here in the Southwest. And the plants that grow there are adapted to this. So you see this is a map diagram drawing of that, and it runs from 0. So we're going to say 0 meters. There's more habitat to the left of where this picture would be and to the right. But we just have an area that we want to sample. It goes from 0 to 80 meters over here. And then let's call that east, from 0 to 80. And then from 0 to 60 up here north. Okay, so we're going to be running 10-meter transects. And beforehand, we might decide we want our transects to run north and south. We want them to run east and west. I'm going to pick running east and west. And they're 10 meters. So that's 10 meters, that's 20 meters, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and then 80. And so if I'm going to run a 10-meter transect, I could actually start it right here, and the whole 10 meters would be there. So your transect is that line. But if I come over here and I want to start running a 10-meter transect at 75 meters, it's going to go off of my area. So I want to make sure that if I lay a transect down that's running east and west, that I don't go further than 70. So keep that in mind. Now, if I'm running them east and west, I can lay a transect right on the 0 meters north, and I can run one right along the 60 meters north there. So keep that in mind, because I'm going to show you how to generate random placement of this. And we're going to use Excel, and that can be used as a tool. In other cases, ecologists would go out there and use what's a table of random numbers to figure this out. Excel is much easier now that that's commonly available. So now that we've opened up Excel, we're going to use it to generate some random coordinates. And we're going to need an east coordinate, and we're going to need a northward coordinate. And the way we're going to generate the numbers is we're going to tell Excel by using a function, a random generating function. And there's a few. There's random, random array, and random between. And we're going to use the random between one. Okay. And we're going to tell it for east. Remember, we can only go up to 70 because we don't want the 10-meter transect to go off of the sampling area. And so we're going to tell it to go from 0 to 70 because we have up to 80 meters. So I'm going to go 0 to 70 there. And you can close the parentheses or not. I'm not going to close it. And it gave me a number of 36. Okay. Now for the northward, we can go all the way to 60 based on what we just talked about earlier. And so I'm going to use that same function, but I'm going to say from 0 to 60 on this one. So it's random between 0, 60. And every time you use these random number generators, they're going to keep recalculating. So every time I do something, you saw the numbers change. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy those values, and I'm going to generate 9 more because I'm going to recommend you do at least 10 transects for this activity. And so when I hit enter, there are my coordinates, and they've been randomly generated. So this tells me where I'm going to go in the map. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy them. Now, remember, every time you do something on here, it didn't change yet, but once I go do something else in the spreadsheet, those numbers are going to change. So I'm going to go ahead and paste these right out here, out to the side here, as the east and north coordinates. I'm going to paste them as values only. And you can see the ones that were generated randomly here on the left changed, but the ones that are over here were the original ones that I just got. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight those. Make sure you highlight both. And then I'm going to go to the sort here, and because I'm only sorting 2 columns, and I'm going to go ahead and sort by the north one, the east one, the first column here. This way it kind of arranges them in a systematic way, so when I enter the habitat, I'm always moving towards the east here. Because right here, I would have to go 40 meters east, then come back to 23 meters. Then I'd have to go to 8 meters, and now I'm going back and forth. So I want to go in a systematic way. So you can see when I sort these, the 41 should stay with the 24 and the 23 with the 6. So let's see if that happens here. 41 with 24, I'm just going to remember that one. And let's check. 41 is still with 24, so that works. So remember, this is the east, and this is the north. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use these for getting onto the map and putting the transects there. So now that I have my my coordinates for my 10 random transects, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, for convenience, I'm going to copy this. Normally in the field, I just have this probably in some note or a clipboard with some notes on there. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it on the map that you downloaded for the simulation. The map is on PowerPoint, and when you download it, it'll look like this. There'll be a vertical line and a horizontal line, and then there'll be this transect that you can find because it looks like it has a magnifying glass. There's an icon, and you can move it around, and it's laid out going east to west. And each little mark on there is a meter. It's a total of 10 meters, so there's 1 meter intervals on there, which is part of there. You decide how big you want your intervals to be. And the idea is to place the left side of this, which would be called 0, and then the other one would be at 10 meters. And you're going to place that left side there, the start of that transect. So the whole thing is called a transect. You put that there at the coordinates that we have arranged. So what I'm going to do is I copied those coordinates just for convenience, because this is a simulation, and I'm just going to paste it Control V and paste that little table there with the coordinates there so I can see where I need to go. And so I can see I need to go to my first one, which is at 1 meter east and 28 meters north. So what I'm going to do is, to help me find this location within the habitat, I'm going to use the vertical bar to figure out where I need to be east. So I need to go to the 1 meter mark. You can see the scale there on the bottom where it says 0, 5, and you can use the arrows to kind of move and toggle, and I got it, and I put it right there on the 1 meter mark. And then from there, so if I walk all along this 1 meter, I'm at the 1 meter into the habitat, and then I need to go to the 28 meters north, and right now it's not. So I'm going to use the horizontal bar and move it to where it says 28. Now, normally I would be doing this either with a very accurate GPS unit or with a compass and a measuring tape to get me out to the right place there. And so now that I have the two lines crossing each other, I can take my transect and I can go and place it right there where the two cross. And then again, you can use the arrow keys to adjust it to where it's just right. Okay. And now you can move the lines out of the way, and you can see what plants intersect there. I'll show you how to record data from there, but now this is just about placement there. Okay, now let's say you can't see anything there. You can grab onto, move it, and then, but I don't have those line crosses anymore, the horizontal and vertical. Just hit Control Z and it takes you right back to where you are. If you ever need to move it out of the transect that way so you can see it just right. Now, to be sure here, the next coordinate that I would going to go sample from once I'm done recording my data here would be 8 and 31. So I have to go 8 meters east. That's 9, that's 8, and then use my arrows to fine tune. So there's that 8, and the other coordinate was 31. So I'm going to go to 31, which is, and you have to highlight on them to get that there. So now I can go and move my transect right to that point, and then use my arrows to move it finally. And there you go. Now my other transect has been laid in a random location. And then as you collect your data, you go through the coordinates. So then I would collect data for this transect, which was randomly placed, and those other points along there would be randomly placed. Let's take a look at the last one. There would be 66 and 33. So the last coordinate that I had on my randomly generated one would be right there, 66 east, and then fine tune it. And then it was 33. I'm almost right there. This was, that's 34. There's 33. And then I can take my transect and then line it up right there. Fine tune it, and get your lines out of the way, and then you can do your sampling. Okay, so that's how you're going to randomly place your transects in the simulation.